Hello, and welcome to the Halloween session of the Flying Cat Marketing Podcast. Although I'm sure you guys are watching this long after Halloween, but we are October 30th tonight, and I'm here with Mark Simpson on this spooky night. Thank you for joining us. How are you tonight?
Yeah, no, I'm very, very good. And as I was saying just before we started recording, I feel like I should have got Halloweened up, but I'm not. I'm just here in my Boostly hoodie in my office with my blue Yeti.
It's okay. Well, I wish that I had a Boostly hoodie as well to match you, but I just had to get spooky and gothicy as you mentioned. We were just talking. So before we hit record, we've been talking already for like half an hour, and Mark started telling me about his podcast. So for those of you who don't know, Mark is the founder of Boostly. He does website design, content creation, coaching for property managers, people in the short-term rental industry.
Mhm.
So why don't we just continue what you were telling me before about how you started your podcast? You did a challenge at the beginning of the quarantine, and you said you're going to record one every single night uh, until it was over. Little did you know that it was going to last however many months.
Long
But
time.
why don't you tell me about that again?
Yeah, 100%. Before we start, though, I just want to say I'm very, very happy to be here. I have been binge watching your podcasts on YouTube, and it's crazy that we were saying before we started chatting that I already feel like I know you because I've been watching all the podcasts, and so it's awesome to be here. So thank you for the invite. But yeah, I was basically saying that. So I'm based in Javier, Spain, about 8 to 9 hours south of where you are in Barcelona, and I flew back to England. Me and my wife and my three children, we flew back to London for the short stay show. For those of you who are in property management, who don't know about the short stay show, it's probably the best um, conference expo, whatever you want to call it, for property managers, people in hospitality out there. It's free. Obviously it's gone a bit virtual at the moment, but it will be back one day, I am told. But I was speaking at that event, and I also went back for an award show, which was the Shorties Awards, which I was very fortunate to win best use of social media. So I flew back for that, and we were meant to stay until the 16th of March. We flew on the 11th of March. So we flew out of Alicante, got into London, did the awards, did the show, and we're going to spend a couple of days checking out cool London stuff. Unfortunately, on the 13th of March, as everybody will know, the world decided to turn upside down, and we were just being flooded with texts and calls from friends here, family back in England, saying, what's going on, da 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 da. We're checking flight scanner. I've never checked flight radar, flight scanner, whatever you want to call it, as much as what I did over that weekend, because flights were getting cancelled. So we made a decision that instead of flying back, we were going to go up to my family business, which is where I grew up, which is called the Granary Farm Stay. It's a bed and breakfast. It's a restaurant, tea rooms, cottages, you name it, middle of 200 acres, set in the middle of the North Yorkshire Moors. It's stunning. And that's where I cut my teeth in hospitality, so to speak. So we went up there on March the 16th, and we naively thought that we'd only be there for a few weeks. Turns out we were there until July the 8th, and we were there for a long, long time. And I've got something like to call the Boostly podcast, and I do it slightly different than most. I sort of release them in seasons, and I've had Boostly podcast was into season 8 back in March, and prior to that, we had 7 seasons, and it was mostly like 5 episodes here, 6 episodes here. It was mostly me giving short tips, like 5-6 minute long podcasts, short little tips, or it was interviewing people from the world of property management, etc., etc. So season 8, I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but then it looked like that we were going to get stuck in England for a little bit longer. 23rd of March is when England went into like proper lockdown. And so I don't know, I just made the decision. I bought a microphone because all my kit and my gear was back in Spain. So I bought a microphone and bought a webcam. And luckily I had my laptop, and I just found a quiet place. And, any parents who are watching this and trying to find a quiet place with 3 boys under the age of 8. And, it was me, my parents, my brother, my sister, and my other brother. It was a loud house, and I just found a quiet space. And every night at 8 o'clock, I went live, and I went live on Facebook, and I recorded it. And that was the start of what became 44 consecutive nights and 44 live videos and 44 episodes. And it was mostly because I sort of made a very conscious decision from the start. If it was just me talking for 44 nights, people get bored of my messed up accent. So I decided to reach out to people, and I reached out to people from the world of hospitality. I got very, very cocky, and I decided to reach out to some of my heroes and like the people that I've been listening to since like day one of starting Boostly. So I was able to get people like Jessica Lorimer, who's a fantastic sales and leadership coach and just a phenomenal human being. Janet Murray, who is the founder of, it was the Soulful PR podcast, and then it's changed into the Janet Murray podcast. And she's, again, one of the leading coaches in the UK for content creation for businesses. And then I got really lucky with James Sinclair, serial entrepreneur in the UK, and then Noah Kagan. So Noah Kagan, if you've ever used SumoMe or SendFox, he's the founder of that. He was the number 10 hire at Facebook, number 4 hire at Mint, and he is just a really cool guy. And I sort of took advantage of the fact that I knew that everybody was at home. Everybody was at home. They couldn't go anywhere. They haven't got the excuse to say, I'm really busy. Because the only thing you're going to be busy watching was Tiger King. So I put the question out there. Sorry, I was kicking the table. Put the question out there, and most people said yes. And I was really fortunate to do 44 episodes. And, coupled to the fact that everybody was at home, I had consistently about 100 to 200 people tuning in live with me. And at the end of those 44 episodes, the reach of Boostly was just phenomenal. The amount of people that were sort of sending me messages, wanting help with websites or coaching, or just just sending me messages just to say thank you, was unreal. I didn't expect any of it. I literally did it because I wanted to get content ready for like a seasons of podcast. And I release a podcast every Friday. I do it every Friday because I know that that's when most hosts and most people are going to be cleaning, doing their changeovers. So they could put me on in their headphones whilst they're cleaning their properties. That was the idea. And, the season is still going now. It's still being scheduled. We're on episode 36. We've just gone out today. We're talking about influencer marketing. And it was unreal, and it's just sort of led to this massive growth in what I do, which it was a very, very cool thing that's happened on the back of a very shitty situation.
It's amazing how powerful podcasts can be. I have the same experience actually, where I started this podcast because I was thinking, okay, what's the easiest way for me to make a lot of content? So I was like, I'll record a video and then I'll extract some audio. I can make a blog post out of that, and out of the blog post, I can make a bunch of social media posts. And that's what I was thinking at first. And then it turns out to be this amazing networking tool and a great way to, people just love it. And it's growing so fast, the podcast industry. And
Yeah.
I asked you this before, but I would like for you to tell me again, because we had talked about it, but we weren't recording yet. And especially now that you mentioned that you had these big names on your podcast, how do you prepare for inviting these people on? What do you do beforehand?
Yeah. And before I forget as well, I think now with podcasts and the way that how easy it is to sort of get one up and going, the podcast now is the equivalent of asking somebody that you want to chat to for a coffee. It's like, come on my podcast. It's like the modern day equivalent. And it's someone said that to me, a good friend of mine in Scotland, and it's very, very true, because with everybody being on lockdown, the before lockdown, the podcast stat that came out, there was 800,000 podcasts in the world, but now there's over 1 million, because what you found is that as long as people have got a Wi-Fi connection, they've got a half decent microphone, you've got a light, a camera, most people can do it off the phones, or and there's amazing tools. There's Anchor, which is obviously owned by Spotify. You've got Libsyn, which are fantastic platforms. So it's a really cool way of getting going. And like for anybody, and I dedicated an episode to this. I dedicated an episode, and the title was "Why Hosts Should Start a Podcast," because it's a great tool to communicate. Podcasting is like any other form of content. If you think about it, if you ask somebody to watch a YouTube video, or if you ask somebody to read a blog, or if you ask somebody to watch something that you put out on Facebook, you are disrupting what they are doing. They have to physically stop what they are doing. But with a podcast, it's not disruptive, because you can do it whilst doing something else, walking the dog, cleaning a room, doing the pots, driving a car, whatever that may be. It's something that accompanies. And you know if it wasn't for your podcast, I wouldn't have discovered you, which is like awesome. I love that I've been able to do it, because I saw the podcast, I saw the brand, I saw the name, and it was, this is awesome. I saw the person that you're interviewing. I believe it was maybe Vanessa or somebody from Rentals United. And then I did a bit of research, and then I found that you work with Jasper. I know Jasper really well from Get Paid for Your Pad. And it was like a WhatsApp message saying, who's this Maeva? Who is this? This person looks awesome. He said, yeah, awesome, get in touch. And it's like, it's just like a circumstance of events that means that we're now chatting together. Like, you're in Barcelona, I'm in Javier. I could be anywhere in the world, and we're having this conversation. And this is where podcasts really do it. And not only are we having a conversation, but we're recording this. So then your people who watch it, followers, can either watch on YouTube, I watch on YouTube, or they can listen, or they, like you say, you can turn it into a blog. There's so many things that you can do with it. So how I prepare for a podcast is, if I'm going to have a guest, so there's two styles, guest or just me. If it's just me, life is easy. All I do, and this is an amazing privilege to be able to have this position to do it. If I'm stuck for something to talk about, what I will do is I will email my list. So I've got 3,412 people on my email list. It's got an engagement rate of 71%. So an open rate and engagement rate of 71%. And it's super, super active. And I love every single person that I actively engage with. And I sort of put a question out saying, what's your biggest pain point? Or what would you like to know about X? And, I'll get 10, 20 replies, 30 replies back saying da, 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 da. And they will give me what to talk about. If I don't get anything in that email, I'll put a post out or a poll out in the hospitality community. So the hospitality community group is my Facebook group. I admin it. I founded it back in 2016. It's got 5,400 members, and it's got an engagement rate of 92%. So it's the most engaged Facebook group out there for hospitality. It could be one of the most engaged Facebook groups, but they won't give me that stat. But again, I'll put a poll out and I'll ask a question, and they will give me content to write about. And if I still don't have anything that I think will be clickable, as in someone I want to watch it or listen to it, then I'll go into the Feedly app. So I do my very, very best to not consume news as much as I possibly can do, because it depends on whatever you open, you got to go along their narrative. But the Feedly app is amazing because I can pick out specific things that I really want to check out, skift, keywords, or whatever. So I will go into there and I'll see what the latest things that people are talking about. For example, last week I did a podcast episode on workcation, because workcation after staycation is now the biggest trend in the world of hospitality. And so I wanted to put out a little video on that because I knew that it's clickable, I knew that it's watchable, I knew that people want to pay attention to it. So if it's just me, that's what I do. If I've got a guest, then what I will do is that I will get somebody in, because there's a general idea that I want to talk about. But what I will ask my team member to do, so I've got a couple of virtual team members, otherwise known as virtual assistants. I've got them all over the world, and I've got a specific one that I will send a message to on WhatsApp and say, okay, what I want for you to do, Laura, is find me everything that you know about Maeva, for example, or find me everything you want to know about Jasper from Get Paid for Your Pad. And what they will do is they'll do a specific search on Google or wherever, and they'll find as much information as possible, and any interview that they've done. And then what they'll do is they'll send me a couple of takeaways, maybe a couple of interviews to watch or listen. And what I'm trying to do out of this is trying to find out what you've not been asked before, or maybe something that you enjoy talking about, or maybe something that you're working on, or maybe there's like a project coming up, or how I can tie that in where the guest will get a ton of promotion from being on my podcast, combined with what can they share and tell, what can we get out of it. I'm always looking for aha moments. So when somebody's listening or watching back, whether they're really dedicated to it, as in like they're sat there with a pen and their paper making notes, or if they're just driving the car, they can literally stop and go, holy shit, I need to stop and I need to make a note of what he's just said or she's just said. So that's what I try and find. And I'm very fortunate that with that prep that I'm able to really pull out what I think is a really cool interview. I was saying before we went on, I'm a massive Tim Ferriss fan. His podcast is when I first started Boostly, a friend of mine said, check out Tim Ferriss. And the first ever episode that I listened to, the one that was on the top of the feed on the podcast app, was his one with Jamie Foxx, which was probably go down in his best interview today. And I'm very fortunate that was my first experience with Tim Ferriss. And then I just went down that rabbit hole. So I've got his books, Tools of Titan, I'm revisiting now at the present moment in time. And I sort of study how he interviews, how he prepares. And I think the preparation comes back to, again, I was saying before we went on, I used to be a soccer coach. And there was a famous soccer coach who, when I was doing my badges, said to me, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And it's always stuck with me, that little phrase, that little quote. And it's something that I take on board with everything that I do, with Boostly, with everything, just life. And I prepare that way. And then what I do as well, just to finish off, is that I will send the guest a Google Doc. And this is a tip that I got off another podcaster that I went on, Elaine from the HLS podcast. She also does the Short Stay Show podcast, Elaine Watt. She sent me a Google Doc with like questions and a sort of like a little disclaimer and just a sort of little how things work, which is really cool because it totally set me at ease with what was going to happen. So I got like a Google Doc and it's like, hey, this is Elaine. So this is going to happen. We're going to be chatting here. I'll be on 5 minutes beforehand. We're going to record. We're going to go live, or whatever the thing was. These are the like set 3 questions that I want to ask. And then there'll be loads of like free talk around it. And at the end, let me know what you want to pitch and promote and plug. And then at the bottom, there's like a little disclaimer just saying XYZ, your face and name and I may be used on my website. Now, that's really cool. So again, I took that idea and I inspired it and I put something together for what I do. And again, I share out a Google Doc and it's like a little video of me, like a little YouTube, just click on that. And I've just sort of explained what we do. And sort of explained the 5 questions. I can't remember what it was, but it was like 5 questions that I ended with, which was lockdown related, and we just have a bit of a giggle. And like to reel this all into the very first thing that we said is that from doing the podcast, from interviewing all these people, I have built and I have created so many amazing relationships. I would say that podcast, along with going up to events like the Short Stay Show, which is where I met Jasper, and so many other people. I would say podcast and going to events is like the main way of building relationships in any industry. And and I think, again, everybody who is watching this, who is contemplating it, I would 100% recommend it.
I'm glad that we're recording, because there was so many times right now where I was like, oh, I need to take notes.
Same. Which is why we started recording at the start. We spoke for 30 minutes beforehand, and yeah. So.
Absolutely. That's a really cool idea with sending the document. I was also thinking, because I currently don't do that. I mean, now you know. And the video as well would be, hey, welcome to my podcast. This is what's going to happen. Those are all really good ideas. So now I'm curious, when you start to, I guess, the bigger names you get on your podcast, the easier it is to get even bigger names. So it's kind of like a snowball effect. I have 2 questions. I guess both of them are going to require long answers, but I'll just put them both out there. And then maybe if you remember the second one, how do you approach big name people that you don't have any connection to? And 2, do you do anything to leverage their audiences after, like asking them to share, or how do you provide incentive for that?
Two very, very good questions. So for the first part, if you are thinking, okay, how do I get in front of X name? There's a guy that I'm sure many of you will be aware of. Is a guy called Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels. Now, I'm not a massive fan of ClickFunnels, but I'm kind of a fan of Russell Brunson, not in everything that he does, but in the little things he does. I have been devouring his two books, Traffic Secrets, and I've literally just tonight, 30th of October, started Expert Secrets. And I think one of the, if you're trying to um, think of a way of building relationships, making connections, or even getting a podcast list together of guests that you want to get on, or just even just people you want to get to know in the industry, check out Traffic Secrets. Audible, you can get like a free book. You sign up to Audible, you get a couple of free credits, you can get it, cancel your membership, and you got these free books. And it's Traffic Secrets is a really good book for it because it talks about your dream 100. Now, I never knew about this until July of this year was when I'd sort of discovered it, and I'm definitely going to use it for ideas that I've got in the future. But that book basically talks about how to get your dream 100. And I was very fortunate that when I asked the big names, the names that I never thought that I could get, like I would say my heroes in like sort of internet marketing, I was very fortunate in lockdown because everybody was at home. No one was going anywhere. And I could send a message. And more often than not, they would say yes. I had a 95% yes rate. You know, there was only one no. And so I was very fortunate. But obviously, when you're tuning into this, wherever you are tuning in, it may not be a lockdown. Who knows? This world is crazy at the moment. But let's just assume that we're not, and people are busy and people are doing all of the things. So I would definitely recommend, number one, if you're looking to get a big name and you've got no connections to them, then start following them on the channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, find out whichever one they are mostly prevalent on, and start following them and start engaging. So when they put a post out, or if they do a story, stories is such an easy way to engage with somebody. Instagram stories, now LinkedIn stories, you've got Facebook stories. Everybody's got a story at the moment, a story feature. It's such an easy way to engage because most people don't. Most people just watch or swipe. But if you take the time to do an emoji reaction or just actually type out a message, more often than not, they will read them. Even if they don't reply, they'll read them, and you're just top of mind. So if you start doing that and you don't ask for anything, just start engaging, like start like being a human. I always say it's like when, and I'm realizing I'm saying the word like a lot. I do apologize, but
I don't
it's
have an editor to edit those out, so those are
so
going in.
this is going raw, and I will try not to say like as any more times. But the example I give is you go into a bar and you see someone that you like, whether it's boy, girl, or whatever, and you go up to them and you say, "Hey, how you doing? You know, can I take your number? Can I take you home?" You know, it's like if you were to do that straight away, it's like, "What the hell? Who are you? What is this? What's going on? See you later, bye." They will just go. And it's the same when it comes to this. It's relationship building. I'm not going to go straight on to say Noah Kagan's Instagram and he will put a post up and I'll blurt back someone and going, "Come on my podcast, I love you, bye." You know what I mean? It's like, it's just not going to happen. If I do that, it'll just go, "Okay, see you later."
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody else is doing. Everybody else is trying to do that. Or even worse, they're trying to do it with a copy and paste approach, as in they have a block bit of text. And I was guilty of this in 2016 when I started, because I thought that's what we needed to do. And I've learned this along the years. So make sure you don't do the mistakes that I made and just sort of have a copy and paste thing that you just blurt out and they instantly know that it's copy and pasted. So you sort of build a relationship by just sending messages, liking, engaging, and you know, you will know there's no set formula, as in 2 weeks after doing this, you can send a message and they'll go, "Yep, I know you. Let's do it." It's like you'll know when the time is right. And the in Traffic Secrets, it talks about that. It talks about getting your dream 100. So what would happen at the start would be if you were to go on to Instagram and say that, well, with what I'm doing, so I coach hospitality businesses how to get more direct bookings. I do web design, which will help hospitality owners get more direct bookings so they don't have to rely on booking.com and Airbnb and whatnot. So if I was to go on to say Instagram or Facebook, it would be right. I want to find my dream list of customers or clients on Instagram. Okay. So we're going to go down that route. Or I could go onto Instagram and go, right, I want to build connections with 100 of the best people from the world of hospitality or digital marketing on Instagram. So then I would spend a bit of time going on hashtags, doing a bit of searching to find out those 100 people. I'd maybe even use a virtual team member as well to help me, but you'll do it all on a Google sheet and you'll get everybody together, all 100 people. You say 100, could be 200, could be 50, could be whatever you think that may be. And then you would just start engaging and following and commenting and getting to know those people. And again, with social media as it is now, and the way that the best people do it is that they use stories to document their day to day. They would use the feed or the grid or whatever it is to sort of put their post out that they would establish their authority. And then they would do live videos to be their sort of their TV station, as Russell Brunson calls it, their live TV, their live radio broadcast or their live TV, where they would just again promote their product, their business, or whatever. So with stories, and that's my thing. I absolutely adore Instagram stories. It's where I make my daily vlogs in there. It's where I follow people and sort of see what people are doing to sort of see what they're doing. And again, I would spend the time in there, 15 minutes a day, just going and checking in and seeing what that Dream 100, as it's called, we're doing if they've posted that day, and I would engage with them. And the long way around of giving maybe a short answer would be get to know them. Don't try and get anything from them, as in, can I pick your brains for, especially if they're at that sort of level up, because they get everybody saying, oh, can I just pick your brains and whatnot. Just have a conversation with them, see if you can help them. Even better, if they have something that they're selling, i.e. a course or a book or something like that, buy it,
Yeah.
invest it, use it. Most importantly, do something. Don't just like read it and go, oh, that was good. Actually read it, put it into practice into your business, or do the course, put it into practice, do it into your business, and send them a voice note or a video message and just say, hey, that thing was amazing. So it's like with Noah Kagan, he's got pop-ups, he's got email, he's got all of the things. He does really cool YouTube videos that gives help and advice on productivity, all of the things. I sent him a message. He did a really good productivity hack with Gmail. So he basically said, show me how to speed up my computer. He showed me Gmail shortcuts in this video, and I started to use them, and it was amazing. So basically, one of the quickest way to boost your productivity on your computer is speed up your mouse tracker speed. So go into the settings and just turn up to the quickest, because it's, again, why would you wait for something to go really slow up when it can just go straight there? And it was true. I get so much done now because of that one little tip. And again, with Gmail shortcuts, you never should have to drag your finger, go from send, inbox. There's this like code, little keys you can collect. And again, it's really just speed you up. So I sent a message saying, no, those skills were amazing. Thank you so much. Would you ever like to come onto the podcast, to my podcast, and just sort of talk about productivity skills for the world of hospitality? And again, I got to caveat that with, number one, he's in his house, he's doing nothing. Number two, the hospitality industry was probably one of the worst hit ones. And, people are sometimes a sucker for that sort of thing. And it was just like, yeah, sure. He put me in touch with his assistant. I got in contact with Jamie, his assistant. We put some dates together, and it was phenomenal. It was like, I was really nervous beforehand. And my wife was like, my wife never tunes into anything what I do, ever. Barely has an interest in what I do. But she tuned in live to that. And she said that I was just all giggly. And I was just like blushing. And I was just like, I got him drunk as well, because I was drinking at the same time.
Okay.
I was giggly and stuff, because he came on when it was Friday night drinks. And again, during lockdown, I got to caveat this. In lockdown, everybody was doing something just to have a realm of normality. Remember we were clapping outside, and people were doing mad quizzes on Zoom with their family. They're
Yeah,
doing
I was
all of
paying
the,
attention.
yeah, exactly. So people were doing mad things. So I just turned Friday night into Friday night drinks. And bearing in mind, I was in England, he was in Austin, Texas. So it was like his 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was drinking margaritas, and it was amazing. It was great, fantastic, phenomenal. Now I do remember the second question, so I will loop it round to that. How do I get in front of his audience? Well, number one, his audience isn't my audience. 9 out of 10 times I stick exclusively to my lane, to hospitality, but sometimes I have to do something for me, and that's why I got Noah Kagan on. And if I was speaking to somebody that is hospitality related, then yes, 100%. So this is what I do, and I do it all the time. And if anybody who's tuning into this, and you're now going to know my secret sauce of how I use a podcast to get in front of other people's audience. So if you are on my podcast in the future and you are watching this video or listening to this, and then you get the link, then you know exactly what I'm doing. But this is what I do. Just like yourself, when we do a live video, so the reason why I go live on Facebook, and I've just purchased a software called Restream, Restream. It's amazing. I'm so excited to use it. I'm going to use it next week. But basically with Restream, what I'm able to do is go live via Ecamm, which is the software that I use to go live on. And it's going to go live on Facebook, my Facebook group, my Facebook business page, my personal page, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, all at the same time. So I'm going to go live. And, as we all know, well, we should all know by now, hopefully, that when you go live, all of these platforms are wanting live video. Everybody's sort of, especially LinkedIn, they absolutely adore it. So when you go live, it's favorable in their algorithms. It's only a matter of time before Instagram Live is available on desktop. They're actually creating the API to make it happen. I reckon next year is when it does happen. So they're all favoring it in the algorithm. So number one, you get the initial bump of the engagement of the peoples. So when I go live, I'm very clever with how I do it. So I have a little 3-minute sort of welcome video, as in it's just a clock going with a funky like 80s jazzy music in the background, and there's a question on the screen which says, are you watching this #live or replay, or where are you in the world watching this? So it gets that little 3-minute bump, but it gets the engagement going because people come onto it and they're like, oh, I'll type in where I'm doing this. And then at the same time, what I do is while that 3-minute thing is waiting and the guest is waiting, I say to them before we click the live button, say, listen, this is a bit mad, but for 3 minutes, nothing's going to happen. So go get a drink, do whatever you got to do, check your emails. 3 minutes, as soon as you hear me start talking, come back. But what I do in those 3 minutes is, number one, I get on my emails and I've got it all pre-populated, ready to go. I just grab the link, put it on there, and I send an email out to nearly 4,000 people, really engaged. So it pops into their inbox to say, right, I'm live right now. Here's the link to do so. So they jump in there. So it gets that real live boost, and which is why we're on 100 to 200 people every night during lockdown. So I'm doing that. And then what we do, as soon as the live video is finished, I grab the recording and I drop everything into Dropbox. And then I've got virtual team members. So I've got about 10 virtual team members all around the world. They do a little bit of everything. And I've got two people, Rohit, shout out to Rohit in India, and Sid in the Philippines. And then what they do, they've got specific jobs and specific roles, but they will take that one podcast and they will turn it into they take that one live video, they'll turn it into a podcast that will go out on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, you name it. They will take that video, so a 45-minute video, and they will create a proper finished video, takes out all the likes and the ums and the ahs, and they put it on YouTube. They create a vertical version, 16:9 for Instagram, and they trim it down to the best bits, 7 to 10 minutes, because you get 7 to 10 minutes on good old Instagram long form. And then what they'll do is they'll trim that down to maybe 2 minutes that we could do on stories. And then what they do is they get a square version for LinkedIn, maximum 10 minutes, because you can't do more than 10 minutes on LinkedIn. And then you can also use that LinkedIn on Pinterest, which is cool for SEO, Twitter stuff. And we also get a crazy little 1 minute thing and we use it on Tickety Talk. So we've got a little bit of everything for everywhere. And then we run it through a service called
Oh, I
otter.io.
use Otter as well.
Otter,
Amazing.
really cool.
Yeah,
So run it through Otter, although it's starting to charge now, which is a bit of a bugger. I do like things
it's
for
worth
free,
it though.
but it's all right. Well, what we're sort of being a bit sneaky. There's a really cool Gmail hack, and if anybody used Gmail, you're gonna love this. And again, I got this from Noah Kagan. So my email address is I'm nearly get my personal email address out then. Let's just say johnsmith@gmail.com. johnsmith@gmail.com, right? I sign up to Otter with johnsmith@gmail.com. That means I can't have any more accounts under johnsmith@gmail.com. But before the at, if you put a plus, so John Smith plus Mark@gmail.com, it still goes to my johnsmith@gmail.com, but it looks like a new email address. And you can replicate and duplicate it many times. So I use that for that, but I also use it when I'm signing up to an email sort of newsletter or whatever, and I'm signing up to somebody, I will sometimes drop the plus if it looks like so like Skift or any. I just want to see where my email goes. I just want to see where that email ends up in the world. So I could call it Mark's I nearly did it again, John Smith plus spam@gmail.com, right? And it'll and then again I can see where it ges sold to and all of the things. Lovely GDPR. So anyway, so run it into Otter. And then I send it on to another virtual team member who's really good with words. And then she will turn it into Joyce in the Philippines. If you're watching, hello. She will put that and turn that into a blog post. So then the blog post, we then grab all of the videos, we grab the HTML of the Spotify or Anchor or whatever. We got that in the blog. It looks lovely. And then that goes out. And then this is how we utilize the audience, is that what I then do is we take that blog post, when it goes live, I turn it into a pretty link. So pretty link is a plugin on WordPress, super cool. And instead of it being boostly.co.uk/podcast/how to do, we can just bring it down to boostly.co.uk/Jasper. And that's the one that came into my head because I just sent it to him last week. So then that's his pretty link. So then we can monitor, if he sends it out, we can monitor how many people click it and all of the cool things. And do you have a final way that we use to leave it is that when we post it on social media, because of the research that we've done, we know the guests' LinkedIn, we know the guests' Facebook, we know the guests' Instagram, we know the guests' Twitter, we know the guests' everything. So when we put it on those channels, we and we add them in, so they get tagged. So when they get the tag, they go, ooh, what's he tagged us in? And they see it's his episode. And again, they're more likely to hit the share button or a comment. And on LinkedIn, you know, for that to appear in my feed, all they literally have to do is hit the thumbs up and it comes up in my feed because they've liked it, which is super easy. With Facebook, it's a little bit harder. But yeah, we do that. So a very long way around to answering 2 questions.
Wow, this is like gold to me. My thing that I'm curious about is how, when you're cutting the videos for the most important parts, because I figured that your virtual assistants, how well do they know the hospitality industry? Like, how do you train them? How do they know which parts are the most important, which parts you found the most valuable? Do you have a process for making sure that they cut the right parts?
This is something that I learned from Mr. Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. You hire good people and you get out of the way.
Yeah.
And at the start, they were awful, shocking. But, you know, and again, I don't know where this has come from. Maybe it's my coaching, because I used to coach 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds how to play football, like little spacemen, literally running around, bumping into trees and stuff. So again, I coach, I see him run into a tree and go, no, Timmy, when you see a tree, you stop, you turn around, you go the other way. So it's like, and again, with the hospitality business, I was training 15, 16-year-old boys and girls how to serve in tea rooms, like how to take a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, how to pour it, how not to burn yourself and do all of the things. So again, I don't just give up after the first hurdle. The first 3 episodes were shocking, but I still published it because what I learned was, again, as a Facebook quote, for 80% of something live is better than 100% on the shop floor. So we just get it out there. We get it out there to the world. It's out, it's live. I'm realistic enough. I know people don't watch a full video. I know, but people don't watch more than like 10, 20 minutes of something. They may listen to the full end of the podcast, but for the most part, as long as the brand and the business name is out there, as long as like my weird face is out there, this voice and the Boostly Rocket is out there, then it's staying top of mind. And because they do what they do, and because we do what we do, and I pretty much have 4 or 5 videos that they're working on a week, they get better with time. And I'm very, very, and again, I learned this from Tim Ferriss. And when he talked about outsourcing, is that when I give the task to my team member, when they first get a hire, I don't write it on an email. I actually record myself doing the task. And I go, right, Rohit, this is how I would do it. Because again, I know everything that they do. I know everything that they need to do. So I spent years at the start doing everything, and every business owner should do it. I don't think anybody should start and then instantly start outsourcing, because how are you going to help the person get better if you don't know what they're doing, And so I would just walk everybody through what I was doing, and I put it onto Loom. I put it onto Dropbox. I've saved it in a folder, because again, when you work with virtual team members, they're not going to be with you forever. Rohit's only been with me since June. Sid's been with me since June, and MJ before, he was with me for a year, but he moved on to bigger and better things. But the main thing is that in June or May, when MJ left, I didn't panic, because I knew I had everything that we were. So I don't know why I'm writing this down, but we had everything in Dropbox. We had everything written, recorded down, and the systems was all in place. So I could literally drop somebody else in. And the even cooler thing was that I had a portfolio. So I could say to Rohit, okay, so before I even started the first week, and Sid leading up, I was like, this is the YouTube channel. Welcome, watch everything, watch it, and this is what we do. This is this is the style that I like. My style is, I like a little bit of PewDiePie. I like the memes. I like the overlays. I like the B-rolls, and I don't take myself too seriously. End of the day, I wear hoodies all the time. I've got loads of like daft little memes and stuff flying around on website and social media. I put myself onto Giphies and all of those things. And so they understand the style, and they understand the sort of the brand and stuff. And I just say, right, you've got it, off you go. Now, all of this sounds like a lot of work, but the only work that I have to do, and I have to stress this, the only work that I have to do is record. That is it. I record it. I don't do any prep apart from reading a little bit, a tiny bit, 10, 15 minutes. I record it. That's the only thing. I drop it into Dropbox. It's like 200 megabyte speed internet here. So it's done like that. On Friday, I line up the tasks for the week from my staff. I drop it in there, and then that's it. I don't post it. So all of the team, they post it everywhere. They know what to put. The blog post goes out. I will read the blog post, and I'll just, if I spot anything, I'll either go in and quickly do it myself, or I'll WhatsApp the person who's done it and say, Joyce, just change this around and whatnot. But for the most part, it's just all done behind the scenes. And this is something that I was, I'm going to give a talk on this next week at Social Media Sorted by Janet Murray. So she's invited me. Again, this is like a cool little round thing, is that because we've got Janet Murray on the podcast, I've been listening to her podcast since 2016. She didn't even know who I was, but we got on the podcast. And since then, I've gone on her podcast, and she liked what I was talking about, and now has asked me to speak at her conference next week, which is amazing. And I'm talking about how I run a business, and I only work 4 hours a day, and I've got a family of three boys. And this is like the thing that I'm going to say there, to give you a little spoiler, is that outsourcing is the key. From like day one, I um I learned and I read and I knew the power of not doing everything myself, and that has been like the key to it. One final thing, just to bring you back to a question that I knew I need to give the answer to, but I kept passing it, was how do I get other guests? So how do I get other guests? Now, this is a real cool tactic that anybody can do. So you've done the interview, you've got the, you know, 24, 72 hours down the line, I send like a little WhatsApp or a little message on whatever platform just to say thank you so much. Do you know, I'll have like a couple of ideas. I know who our mutual friends are, so to speak. I'll know somebody that they're like a big guest that they've in their world or whatever they've worked with or whatnot. It'll be, I really would love to get X on the podcast. Is there any chance you could put like a little group chat message or something like that, just like a little intro? It would mean the world, you know. And you know, more often than not, they're more than happy to do so. And you know, because it's come, a message hasn't just come cold from you, it's come from them, then they're more likely to read it and potentially even reply to it. And sometimes they even agree to do it as well.
That's amazing. I feel like I want to have a second podcast with you where we talk about outsourcing and building systems.
Anytime. I am more than happy to come on. I love talking
Yeah,
about this thing. Like I said, I love your podcast, so more than
thank you.
happy.
Yeah, this is probably the longest episode I've had in a while, but it's been so
That
interesting.
was my goal. I'm not gonna lie, that was my goal. I saw it's like a 30, 40 minute average. I was like, I want to break an hour.
I think we definitely could. I mean, we're talking about podcasting, but now it's really inspiring because I'm also at this point where I'm recording these episodes, and I also am I'm outsourcing. I have team members, I have project managers, I have writers, I have graphic designers, but I haven't managed to outsource this kind of podcast management yet. I mean, of course, it would be easy to kind of edit the video. I have somebody adding the intro and the outro, whatever, can upload it. But when it comes to selecting the little audio clips and cutting it down, I haven't yet gotten to being able to outsource that bit. But it's again just being able to let go, trust, train,
That's the, you
integrate.
hit the nail on the head. It's hard. The mindset of letting go on certain things. But yeah, I don't know. You just get to a point where you just you learn yourself to let go, and that is the hardest thing. And I still, you know, I'm not perfect. I still at times don't always let go as much as I maybe should do, and I still think I'm quite good at it. But once you do, it's like you're taking that red pill, then you're away. And you know, it's I think that the key thing is hiring good people. If you hire good people, and you know when you've got good people, you just know. And I'm very, very fortunate. I've got a very good system that I've learned from a guy called Tager. He's based in the UK. He's a fantastic guy. He's actually got a blog on how to outsource. If you just go to Boostly, so this is his pretty link, boostly.co.uk, boostly.co.uk /Tager, TEG, so G for Gary, G for garage, and then Tager. It will go to his blog post, because his name is Tager Dig. I can't say his surname, Digby, and I can't even pronounce it or say it or spell it. So I created a pretty link so I could send people to his website. So anyway, it's a really good blog. He lays it out for free, all the steps, how
Okay.
to filters, and yeah, it's really, really cool. So I learned that system from him, and I'm very confident when I hire, and I'm very fortunate I don't have to hire a lot, but when I do have to hire, I've got a really cool system in place, that I can get like the diamonds out of, you know, the needle in the haystack. Because you know what it's like when you put a listing out there in the world of the internet, you get every man and his dog apply. But I've got some really cool systems and hurdles in place that the only ones that get through are like the really cool ones.
Okay. Do you now have outsourced people who help you with outsourcing?
No.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I've gone the next step. So with the business has gone 200% growth in the last 12 months, which is insane. the web design has really taken off. And it used to be, so I've got a person that I joint venture with the web design on. He's called Tom. He lives in Bali, but he's from England, but he's in Bali. And he was doing a lot of the work, and we brought in somebody to help him, but then it was getting too much work for just them two. So I was going to go through the process of finding another web designer and then da 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 da. We went through it initially and found two people in India, but they just didn't work. It grated me having to work with them. So we just got rid instantly. And then I was very fortunate because I was like, oh, screw this. Let's just really stop taking on so much work and just be really exclusive with who we work with. Let's just stop it. Because I literally, this is annoying me now. It was annoying Tom and it was annoying Aldrin. So a friend of mine, and I haven't spoken to him for a year, and we just, for whatever reason, we're on a call. And he was saying about, because he's a website designer, and he said, oh yeah, I've just started to work with this agency in the Philippines, and they're website designers. And they're already trained, they already know what they're doing, they're experts in WordPress. You just pay for a certain amount of hours. So it's something like $2,000 for 150 hours. And you can choose for a junior, a medium, or a high dev. And he set up a phone call. And that was in August. We set up the phone call. What's it now? October. It's only 2 months ago. Unbelievable. I now hire 4 of their people. And I know that I can take on as much work as possible. I could just have 100 people knock on my door tomorrow and go, Mark, can I have a website? Well, yeah, 100%. Because all we need to do is we just call up the agency and go, can we have another one, another one, another one? Because they're trained to the specs. They're fantastic at what they do. The level is like insane. They understand everything. We could just literally drop somebody in, and our websites are really good websites. Really, they work. Like, we put a money back guarantee on, because I guarantee anybody who comes onto it will get a return of their investment in new direct bookings, because our system and our structure works. So that's the new way that we are going, is working with an agency. And it works out, if you break it down to hourly or monthly wage, it works out just a little bit over. But yeah, phenomenal.
Wow. That's something that I was also looking to do. I'm a bit overloaded right now with work. There's a lot of growth happening at Flying Cat. And
Which is good.
yeah, it's good. It's amazing. I'm really happy. But now I'm also in the mode, okay, whoo, I need to hire somebody.
Yeah. But it's like your business, your agency, your business was like tailor-made for the worst case scenario this year, because you were already virtual, right? You were all virtual. So it's not like you had to massively pivot, and you've got this massive office in Barcelona just sitting around doing nothing, which a lot of people, are having to sort of massively rethink how they do everything. So it's like, you already had a massive advantage, and you do good work, and it's like it's always going to happen where it just goes up and up and up. But I definitely recommend checking out Tega, because he has a virtual assistant hiring agency. So he may be able
to I'm definitely going to check out that link after. I'll have to go back in the recording
I will get you a group message going between the two of you at some point.
Yes, please do. All right. I think I'm going to have to wrap up this podcast here, even though I feel like we could keep talking for hours and hours.
Yeah.
And we'll have to have another one where we can have like a whole podcast episode about hiring and scaling and systems. I am obsessed with that topic right now.
There you go. Yeah, I'm more than happy. Anytime, just send me the link. We'll book it in, and we will get it done.
Cool. So if anybody wants to connect with you who's watching this, where's the best place? I guess everywhere. You're even on TikTok, he said.
Yeah. I don't post there. I don't really use it. I go over every now and again if I want it. So I love, I'm obsessed with my GoPro Max. I bought a GoPro Max. So GoPro Max is their 360 cameras. And so I go onto TikTok to get inspiration of 360 videos to film. So I go on there when I find creative videos. but I even though we post every day on there, I don't post. It's somebody from my team who does that. But we are on TikTok. But don't send me a message on TikTok because I'll never get it. Instagram, I love Instagram.
Okay. Not
I
on your
only spend 15 to 20 minutes a day on Instagram, but it's at Boostly UK. So it's at Boostly UK everywhere. LinkedIn's cool. I think a lot of your audience may be LinkedIn people. I'm thinking so. Yeah, LinkedIn. It's Mark Simpson. It's literally my profile picture is the same everywhere. It's just like the Andy Warhol pop art of me just going like
Yeah.
a mouth expression. That's it. You can't miss me. It's orange background for the branding. Me with probably this hoodie on, and that's the shocked expression. But I'm sure LinkedIn is Mr. Mark Simpson, something like this.
Yeah, yeah.
But yes, send me a message on there, Instagram, and yeah, if you want to have a chat, more than happy to have a chat. And then the website is boostly.co.uk.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you guys liked this episode, which I'm sure you did, please like it, share it with your people, and subscribe to the channel. So thank you, Mark, once again. And happy Halloween, everybody.